afternoon, everybody. Maybe I should say it in German, because then you guys better. How do you say good afternoon in German? There you go. Yes, thank you for giving up your, a little bit of your time to share some knowledge, share some stories, share some rum, of course, with our esteemed panel, our esteemed guests. But also, more importantly, and I mentioned guests quite intentionally, because I always see myself as a guest of Barbados and a guest of Barbados Rum. And these guys are the hosts of Barbados Rum. So I'm very honored and proud that the Barbados Rum Experience, the Barbados Tourist Board, that actually invited me over here to speak and also have free rum, because that's one of my favorite rums in the world, a free one. So to speak, but also to ask questions and discover and find out why this event was put on. And from my knowledge, one of the reasons why this event was put on was to establish Barbados Rum. Yeah? And some of you might say, well, Barbados Rum's established. Everyone knows Barbados Rum. But we say that from a small base. We say that from a small amount of knowledgeable people that know about the rum industry. And we are a minority, a massive minority. Yeah? There are a lot of people out there that don't really understand what Barbados Rum is. So we have three experts here that will tell us what Barbados Rum, but more importantly, and the most important thing, is why, and you might see a shirt here, so isn't got a shirt saying Barbados Rum, why they might feel that Barbados Rum is endangered, I see it there. Why, how can a rum be endangered? I thought Barbados Rum was like one of these noble spirits. And then the other thing we're going to learn today is, which is the most important thing, which is going to be the first question I'm going to start off with, because I've always wondered about this. What is a GI? Yeah, what is a GI? That means geographical indication, just in case anyone has one of those little toys, GI Joes, type things. So, geographical indication. What is a geographical indication in relation to rum or produce? I think we should start with the person that is known online as a person that's very vocal when it comes to a GI, and that's Raphaël.
Well done, well done. So I just pull up just to be. I need my glasses.
And in case you didn't know, Raphaël is from the Mount Gay distillery.
French.
Okay, he's French.
So
that's the important thing, he's French.
So it's, for some people it's bad, for some it's good, I don't know, but 13 years on the island. Sorry?
For some it's good.
Yeah. Exactly. I just wanted to pull out from YPO the proper definition, so we can start with that. And geographical indication is a sign used on products that have a specific geographical origin and possesses qualities or reputation that are due to that origin. In order to function as a GI, a sign must identify a product as originating in a given place. But what is important here, and I think it's a good start for the discussion, it's the link with the geography. So, meaning that all rum have specific attributes due to the link with the geography. And I don't know if we will go probably in the detail of how we are making rum here in Barbados and what are the specifics that we want to push in the proposal that we have for the Barbados geographical indication. And by the way, it's a proposal where the three distilleries that are in front of you today are totally aligned. We worked on it, and I think it's also showing that we all deeply thought about the impact of a GI and what it could do for rum, and I guess it will be one of the questions that we will answer, what the GI can do for rum. But I wanted to start with that, saying that there's a strong link with the geography. And maybe we'll go in detail later on that.
Excellent. I mean, the other great thing about it is you said it eloquently as well. Love your French accent. But I prefer the accent of a true Barbadian. So, Larry, what is a GI to you?
Well, I think to me, I mean, the definitions are there, but for me personally, and one thing that links the three of us together is the passion for making the rum that we make. I think that comes across then to the point to say if we put so much effort into it, surely we must get rewarded by some protection and some recognition that we are unique in this part of the world in Barbados, you know. There's a lot of definitions of the various geographical, recipes and water and so on. But I think when it boils down to it, it comes to we really believe in what we are doing, and to that end, I think we deserve the recognition and protection of the GI.
Brilliant, excellent. Okay, and Mr. Richard Seale, question I'd love to ask you. So in regards to a GI, again, from a layman's perspective, because I didn't even know much about GIs until this conversation came up, in so many words. Name, or can you describe another product, like another drink or spirit that has a GI, that benefits from that protection that is needed or is sought by Barbados Rum?
Well, first let me give sort of just follow on from Raphaël and Larry, and give an example of a product. In fact, actually, it's also good to give an example of a product that would not be a GI.
Okay.
Let me explain. In other words, what a GI, when a product is certified, as geographically indicated from a certain flavor, what it's saying is that this product is more than just the factory location. In other words, if you lifted Foursquare up and transplanted it somewhere else, the rum would be different. It's saying that there are certain geographical factors that influence the character of the product. So you just simply can't move the factory. So to give the counter example, there's many. I mean, if you think of something like a car, BMW is built in Europe, and they're built in America. It's the same car. Or you think of beer, notwithstanding, the super enthusiasts who say that, St. Lucia tastes different from the Holland. But in theory, you couldn't say that beer was a GI because you have a brewery in Holland, you have a brewery in St. Lucia that's ostensibly making the same thing. The GI is when you're saying, no, this factory can only here. And it's because of the geographical influence. And rum fits that. As I said, if you heard my earlier seminar where we talked about, the yeast coming in from the cane and the yeast coming in from the boats. And, you move this factory. I mean, you literally could, move Foursquare to St. Lucie and Abbey from St. Lucie to Fort, and you make two different rums. And that's what you're doing. And you're saying, even if I went and built this identical factory, all the identical equipment. And so what you're trying to do is, those type of products then have a certain intrinsic value, and the protection comes because you don't want someone to mimic that product and claim to be that product without being legitimately from that place. I mean, I'll give an example I had just recently. It was quite comical. I was going to make some pizza, and Leah was out on the road, and I said, bring home some mozzarella cheese. And she brought home this sort of hard stick of cheese, like cheddar. And I was a bit suspicious right away. And then it said, Dutch Farms mozzarella. Dutch mozzarella? Well, maybe. And of course it was dreadful, so I dug a little deeper on the label. It was Wisconsin cheese. A Chicago company using a brand name called Dutch Farms and selling a regional, an Italian cheese called mozzarella. That's the antithesis there of GI. But that's what happens when you have intrinsic value. So when you have an intrinsic value with a certain product associated with a certain region, people will want it to mimic. So even this Chicago company couldn't one step further than just mozzarella. Like we gotta go have a brand, Dutch farms, you know, because you know, that's the ugly cheap. So like throw every link we can. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to recognize you have something really special that can only be made here, and you want to make sure that people don't, and then they get made in somewhere else.
Great answer. And so basically what he's saying is that intrinsic value is important. The importance of Barbados being on the bottle. That's what people find, quality. Question I want to ask Raphaël, especially because you work for a French company from Europe, and you come over here and you see the beauty of what Barbados Rum can produce. Why did you not, you can answer this, I hope you can answer, as a company, why didn't you guys take Barbados Rum and make it much more affordable? Your rums are very expensive, and bring it to Europe and continue the process over there? Is this something that may have been looked at by Remy?
But not at all. And if you look at the history of Rémy Cointreau and the different acquisition, it's always, and kudos to the owners and to the area of Dubreuil family, which is very respectful of the identity of the producer. They participate in the capital or the purchase, like more recently the acquisition of Bruichladdich Distillery in Islay. And they are sticking exactly to what they did for decades, which is using local barley, transforming it, fermenting it, distilling it, aging on island. They never ask at a certain stage to transfer this whiskey to be aged continentally, because it's happening. I mean, lots of island distilleries are using barley coming from Germany or from France, by the way. Probably doing the malting process in Scotland, but then aging back in England and not on Ireland. So losing the character that is bringing the island. So just to come back to this point, Rémy Cointreau, very respectful, respect the integrity of the knowledge, the craft of Mangé distilleries. Probably where the guidance or the synergies, I will say, that came is that within the group, the luck we have, because there's other spirit producer, we are benefiting from knowledge on, for cask, for example, we have access to cask that we will never have access, or more difficult, when we are sometimes using a cognac cask. We do some barrel exchange with our friends of Bruichladdich. Some years ago, we brought some Port Charlotte casks, so heavily peated. So I know you don't like it, but it's a nice one, I can tell you. So that is a benefit, but always respecting the identity and what makes a Barbados rum, which is effectively using the elements, and there's only three elements which are coming from the island, and also respecting the environment. So in this case, the tropical air, so with the humidity, with the heat, and of course there's always, you know, an operation manager or an accountant or a CFO somewhere telling you, guys, this evaporation rate is really to the roof, we are losing money. Yeah, but sorry,
this is what I was alluding to. Like, why didn't you take your rums to Europe? It would be a much more cooler climate, and you'd save on some of the evaporation and make even more money.
The answer is because it's meaningful. Doing everything here, it's meaningful, and this is the proper way. And I think probably it's also from this family coming from Cognac, where effectively it's a GI, and they are respecting rules, quite strict, and probably it's coming from that too. So it's, and again, it's probably, I'm sorry if I say that, but it's not me, but it's education. When you have people which are very respectful of others, really respectful of different cultures, and for example, myself, I'm French, I'm living for 13 years on the island. I don't myself.
Yeah, I hear the Barbadian accent.
Yeah. I can curse in Belgium if you want, and I will not, respectfully. But yes, so I'm adapting. I'm not coming with this concurrent mindset and trying to change things. No, I respect. Yeah, maybe marginally to improve, probably, but I'm not saying that we need to age somewhere else or to, yeah, we have a good history with a savoir-faire, using a French word, sorry, a craft, but we need to keep. And I think it's what also our consumers are appreciating, is that we maintain this long-lasting tradition over more than 300 years. And it's also that when you're saying it's expensive, I'm not sure, but when you're purchasing Monge, it's also that you know that it's a proper rum from Barbados.
And you just, I mean, I actually love lots of rums, but my favorite rums, as some of you know, is a free one, as well as one in my glass, and the next one. But I have bought some rums, put my hands in my pocket, bought some rums, and one of the rums, one of the most expensive rums I have personally bought, has been from Nicholas Abbey. And one of the reasons why I did purchase that, because I knew exactly where it was made, how it was made, who made it. You see the stills, you can see the cane, you can smell everything, smell the syrup boiling away. So I knew it was from grass to glass. I knew exactly, I could trace everything back, and I felt that was value I wanted to have, and that's what I assume a GI will protect. But your particular GI, because I know there's lots of various different GIs and PDOs and protections for various different regions around the world. Can you just, between the three of you, I mean, I'll start with you, Larry, can you give us like some top points of what the Barbados GI will actually, or hopefully will actually entail? I mean, like, let's go 3 points each.
Yeah. Before I do that though, I think it's really, really important to acknowledge what Mount Gay has done here in coming into Barbados. We don't talk a lot about it, and I know Raphaël has mentioned it, but really Mount Gay has done the right thing, you know, and it might lose more alcohol in the tropics, but they gain a lot from the integrity and the story that they currently are living. So as a business plan, it made absolute sense to do what they've done. And we have to take our hats off to them, because they had plenty of choices, but they chose the right path. And I'll say that to you.
We did have a previous brand sold to, can you hear me okay?
Kind of.
We did have, in our history, a previous brand sold to a multinational. And what was a previously indigenous brand was then moved, all the aging, all the bottling was moved inside. So yes, I mean, Barbados is not no one would choose Barbados based on the economics based on make rum. You have to be committed to make rum in Barbados.
Well, now, because of your commitment, it is an economical reason to make rum in Barbados, because of the value you guys have created between the three of your companies.
Yeah, exactly. So, what we do at St. Nicholas embodies a GI, you know. We grow our own sugar cane, use our own water, we distill it, we age it, and we add value to the culture in and around our community, and we employ people. And when you go to bed at night, that's a good feeling.
Nice. Okay. Are there any other technical stuff, Richard, that a GI, a Barbados GI, would actually impose on any new company? I know we have someone here. There's someone looking to start up a new distillery in Barbados. What are some of the rules and regulations that we'd expect a new distillery to actually to follow to comply with a potential GI?
Again, yeah, so that comes back to this, this concept of protection, because, Remy is committed to, the principles of aging and bottling here, and my family is committed to the principles of aging and bottling here, and Larry. But suppose we get sold. Suppose,
Foursquare is for sale, guys.
Yeah.
That's a scoop.
Bring a big check.
It's a serious zeros on that.
Sorry. What's tempting?
But right now, without a GI, you see, you don't have anything to protect you. So three of us here having the right philosophy means nothing if in the future it could be changed. So the idea with the GI is you lay down that marker. And what then happens is, of course, you only then attract the right kind of suitor. So the kind of sort of multinational that sort of scope it around to, you know, find a way to cut costs, use your good Barbados name and shave costs. And then he discovers, you know, no, the rules are against it. Well, that's not the suitor you get. Then you get the kind of suitor. Because obviously things like foreign investment are, you know, a big source of debate in the region. And one of the things that we need to stop worrying about so much is not so much foreign ownership, but where is the value added? This is the key question. Because we want foreign capital. Foreign capital, we can't do it all on our own. So, but if you have foreign capital, but all the value is being earned outside, that's exploitation. If you have foreign investment, but you have local value being added, that's to your economic benefit. That's going to benefit your entire community. And so, but the reason why we you know, the sort of concept of protection goes hand in hand, because you're here building up your brand, not just your own brand, but your category. And let me put it to you this way. Let's say I go into a new market. For example, not long ago, we started in New Zealand, a couple of years ago. And of course, what do you do when you go into a new market? Register your trademark. Why do you register your trademark? Because you don't want to go in there and start selling Foursquare rum, and then someone else sells Foursquare rum. Well, it's the same principle with a GI. The idea with a GI is you have a GI, and then when you enter the market, you go to the New Zealand, and New Zealand is one of the signatory countries to the various agreements, and you say, recognize this GI for Barbados Rum. And what that means is that anyone else using the word Barbados Rum must meet the same standards, so you've now protected. So GIs are totally analogous to trademarks, and it's about protecting your investment. So you register a trademark in your brand to protect the investment you make in your own brand. But a GI is where you want to protect the investment that you're making jointly, all of us as a category. And that's where this concept of protecting Barbados Rum is coming from. And it's one of those things that sometimes doesn't come home until it's lost. You know, so someone's saying, well, I don't know of any sort of counterfeit rum in wherever. Well, you got to close that door before the proverbial horse has bolted.
So, well, boys, the proverbial horse. You always bring horses into it. I don't know why. Maybe you love them. So, but in regards to the actual GI itself, I want to get down to the crux of it, because a lot of people always ask me, okay, what will the GI actually do? What is it? Will I be, if I was setting up a rum company here, and I want to be creative, how much creativity can I do if there's a GI? Does GI stifle creativity and innovation?
Well, I just answered last.
So, GI is a framework, so you have all the colors to paint a frame. It's just that it's a defined elements, and I mean, when you think about music, there's a defined number of notes, and you can have beautiful symphonies. If you like Mozart, or you can have rock and roll. I mean, it's the same notes, very limited amount of notes, by the way.
Reggae, fashion.
No, exactly. So you have style. It's exactly the similarity. You have style, but the framework is there in terms of what you can use and not use, and doesn't stop any creativity. And you can even go beyond the framework, and in this case, you're not qualifying for the GI. But you can create outside also, and you will call it differently. So
I mean, that's a key point, because one of the things I do hear online is some people saying that a GI would stop them from experimenting, would stop a company from experimenting. They're not allowed to make any particular products if a GI is there. So you're saying you can still create stuff outside a GI, but still make it here in Barbados.
Exactly. So doesn't stop doesn't stop the creativity at all. And for example, I'm sorry, I'm talking a bit about us, but Trudy and Breaker of our plastic master blender. I mean, they recently used, she went beyond, used an oak coming from Colombia, so something that was different, but still qualifying. It's a oak, sorry, and so still qualifying within the GI that we defined. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's a delicious product, well made, etc. But there's creativity and still within the framework of the GI. So to answer bottom line to your question, the GI framework allows creativity without any problem. And again, you can be creative beyond, and it's not an issue either. You can be a product from Barbados without being necessarily a Barbados Rum GI.
So that means Larry can get a nice little tiny column still down at Nicholas Abbey and add that to your blend and still comply with a potential GI. There's no specification of what type of still you can use.
No, it could be a column still, pot still, of course.
Okay, excellent. Look, that answers that particular question.
So, yeah, I mean, this is, of course, one of the sort of pathetic, disingenuous arguments. And it's really not an argument against, it's not really a valid argument against a GI. It's really when you really don't want a GI. And as I say, it plays on emotions. So when people hear GI, there's, you know, and you know, it's something written, so it plays on this emotion that it's going to be something somehow restricted. So what we do is we throw this disingenuous argument out there, you're going to stifle and all this kind of nonsense. And it's really stupid, because understand, when you write the GI, there's two elements to it. They are the geographical elements, and they're the quality standards. So if you look at the geographical elements, these are de facto markers of identity. So if you distill a rum in Barbados, but you age it in another country, you accept this principle, which we all do, that the climate of aging is influential to the character of the product. You have de facto not made a Barbados rum. So when you say to someone, you can't call that Barbados rum, there's no restriction. This is something that is self-evident. Okay, it's not a restriction. So if you take a distillate from Barbados, you age it somewhere in Europe or whatever, you can still call it rum once you meet the European rule of wherever you're aging a definition of rum. But you can't argue that it's a Barbados rum, because we accept that the climate of the aging shapes the character of the rum. So it must be aged in Barbados to be a Barbados rum. So this is why this is nonsense, or this restriction nonsense. It's about a standard of identity. It's not about restriction in terms of you can't do it. And then it's the same thing with quality standard. GIs have things like quality standard. So we have a thing in our GI that when we say something is aged, we mean in a cask. We've written in there that the cask can be a maximum of 700 liters.
700?
Yeah, and the reason why we've chosen 700 liters is that's the largest cask. And the reason why we've done this is we want you to know that when we write 10 or 12 years, it corresponds with what you have already in your own mind in the spirits industry established as the standard of aging. Aging means in a cask. It doesn't mean sitting in a 20,000 liter vat. So it's just a quality standard, it's not a restriction. You can still put your rum in a 20,000 liter vat, but you can't call it, give it an age statement. It's not a restriction. It's a quality and integrity standard. So this is why, you know, this nonsense, but it's very emotional, so it's very easy. Oh, we need a GI to be more flexible. No, then what you're saying is you don't want Barbados rum protected. And the only reason why you don't want Barbados rum protected is because you want to use the name of Barbados rum, but you don't want to commit to the cost and the principles of Barbados rum. Throwing out this nonsense about you know, innovation and stifling is just absolutely disingenuous, ridiculous argument. I mean, I just spent an hour with you telling you what the innovations we've been doing at Foursquare. So, you know, please, I really, this argument for me is one of the most pathetic and ridiculous of all protestations.
I mean, this one say I had something to it, but one of the things I have noticed since I've been here a lot of times I come to Barbados, just speaking to local Barbadians, we've got a few bartenders, rum drinkers here in the audience, and the question of the value of Barbados rum is lost sometimes to them. And I've always believed that it should be about the people that live here, that should be vocal and speak about it and talk about it. Is there much talk here on the island in local media? How does anyone find out about trying to establish this GI? Because I know in Jamaica we have our GI now, finally. What about here in Barbados? How does one Muslim get involved?
Well, I think we need to. I think we need to make an effort to let the public know what is the GI, the Barbados Rum GI about, and it's true that we are quite vocal, active on social media platforms which are more dedicated to the outside world, out of Barbados. Of course, there's Barbadian collective, but it's not a topic which is widely known, and probably we need to put an effort, and this is a good platform today, for example. We need to make an effort to explain and take the public by the hand and walk through our proposition of Barbados Rum GI to explain what is that. So, what is the Barbados Rum GI? Of course, the link with the terroir, the link with the island to qualify to be a Barbados rum, but also the economical impact that has on our community. Because, as you said, we are all creating value here in Barbados for the benefit also of the community, which is important, specifically in worldwide commerce, where effectively, and we know what happened with the GAFAM, etc. So we need absolutely to create added value here, and it's what we do. And it's not by chance, sorry, I'm going to send flowers to my colleague over there, but it's not by chance. It's not by chance that in the best rum distillery, IWSC, this year you have two distillery, Barbados distillery, and of course the winner is.
So I just want to give another round of applause.
It's not by chance.
Two of the four rum distilleries in the world nominated were both there. So I just want to give a big hand to that. The reason why Larry wasn't, because Larry was boutique.
He doesn't like to participate. But kudos to Foursquare again to win it. So it shows something. A small island, and there's a cartoon in France, Asterix. You know, it's the story of a small part of France, and people are fighting against the Romans. It's during the Roman domination, you know, and we like that. We like to be this small rock in the middle of the Atlantic, fighting for high quality and high value rum, and it's a reality. So we are being recognized, and funny enough, we are recognized by you guys, by our loyal consumer. We are recognized by the trade, but strange enough, we are not recognized by the instances here in Barbados about what we do and what we are proposing, which is absolutely legitimate and genuine. So, but that's also the funny thing. Well, fun. I don't know if it's fun, but it's curious at least.
Well, I mean, it's just mind-boggling in this day and age. I know part of your mantra for Mount Gay Rum is the rum that gave birth to rum. Is that the mantra?
Yeah, we used to have this line.
Yeah, you said that line when you changed it.
The rum that invented rum.
I mean, in this day and age, that I could, as a foreigner, could come here, set up a little distillery, tiny little distillery, make some product, don't even age it. I can then bring it I can take it to Trelawney, you know, North Park, Jamaica, take it there, bottle it, and put Barbados on the label. That for me is just mind-boggling, how that can happen. And I'm taking all of the money out of Barbados and taking it to wherever I'm going to take the actual brand. And I think that, I mean, personally, I just think that's wrong. I just think it would never happen in Scotland. We spoke about variety of spirits. Scotch whiskey is so vast from one place to another place, but they have
Yeah, I mean,
That's it, guidelines.
to Raphael's point, it's, the islands are not big manufacturing islands, as you know, but we do manufacture, there is some manufacturing, there's quite a bit obviously in places like Trinidad. But I don't think it's so well appreciated that there are a handful of places of global excellence on the island. That they don't realize, it's not necessarily, and that's a little bit our fault. Maybe we should, talk about ourselves a little bit in that sort of broad sense. But I'll give Raphael one. You were thinking of a old, just to show you how long I've been in this business, because this is before Raphael. Mount Gay used to have a slogan, expertly done Mount Gay Rum.
Oh, that's all those old ones.
Yeah, that was from 1970.
They're now reviving it, yeah?
Expertly done by Mount Gay. But one of the things I said when I was here last time, I said because I realized there's a lot of local bartenders, local rum lovers, local rum drinkers. They didn't know what's going on. It was like, wow, I didn't realize that our beloved rum could be taken away from us in effect, because that's exactly what's happened. That potentially could happen if a GI doesn't happen. I'd love to get some people's opinions here, especially from the guests from abroad, because as much as we love Barbados rum, as much as we are very vocal online, some people are even more vocal than others, I think it'd be good for Barbadians, the ordinary man or woman on the street that drinks Barbados rum, to understand what us as foreigners think about their rum, and why we think it's important to protect, why we think it's important that a GI should be in place, so we know when we're buying a bottle of rum in London or in the States, somewhere in the States, and it says Barbados on there, we know what we're getting. We're not getting a substandard product, just basically taking advantage from your brand. So I'd love to hear if there's any opinions or questions about potential GI or what these guys are doing. We had, just making sure I'm allowed to, just getting the bosses allowed to move across this. Right, can't hold the mic, I'm allowed to touch the mic. So you're all the way from New Zealand. Yeah.
Right here. I think for me, and I think Richard said it, for me, the reason why I'm a fan of Barbadian rums is because I see it as a standard, as a quality. And if we're talking about GI for me, that is worth protecting. In a nutshell, that's it.
Excellent. Well, I mean, I think you echo a lot of people feel it is a standard, it is quality. It does mean quality. It should mean something, and that's what we're fighting for.
If I get a question from someone, what rum should I try? The easiest and most trustworthy rum that I can reach for, that I know they're going to appreciate and find delicious, is Barbados rum.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big testament. That's about what. Foreigners talking about your product.
Yeah, I would absolutely second that. People that are getting into rum, I always tell them go for Barbados, because until very recently, you knew that every Barbados rum was held to these standards. And now that people are trying to move those standards, it's like they're trying to perpetuate a lie. And we want Barbados to be honest.
Nice, wicked, excellent. We're here all the way from the UK. This guy owns 2 rum bars, so got a bit to say about rum.
Yeah, I'll keep it short.
Unlike you.
We didn't come here to listen to me. I just think Richard, you personally have been so instrumental in terms of setting standards across the board of rum, that I've seen other distilleries across the Caribbean and further afield. There's been a huge reaction to that. In terms of people upping their game and improving their quality of what they're doing. And that's come from Barbados, that's come from you here in Barbados, and of course your relationship with Luca and Valio and stuff, but that's how big Barbadian rum is. It's had a global influence on how they make rum elsewhere.
That actually, That probably is one of the reasons why, if I was a charlatan, I'd want to take advantage of that because of the stuff that you three have done to build up the
Yeah,
Barbados
that's
brand.
exactly it. In other words, you know, there's a reason why bourbon is protected. There's a reason why Scotch is protected. There's a reason why champagne is protected, because those are the benchmarks. And, you know, if you can use that name but don't adhere to the standard, that is a business model that can be very successful for the individual, but then it destroys the category.
So what can we do? What can we do? Want to ask a question? Wait from West Abbey.
Come from New York, am more than somewhat vocal about the GI online. To a broad question. One, as someone with no familial, genetic, or any ties to the Caribbean, other than being online, what can we do? And at the same time, I've been coming to the island since 2006. Larry runs a boutique, fantastic distillery that I visited in probably February of 2006. I didn't know until years later where your rum was coming from. Richard runs a multi-generational family business that is a privately held company based on the island that comes from the family. And you know, this is the first time from Mount Gay that I've heard anyone from Mount Gay really strongly come out for the GI. How can we as consumers encourage Mount Gay and the $8.5 billion parent company to come out in favor?
Cheese, man.
Publicly traded. How do we come out to encourage Mount Gay to be more public with the fact that you are doing everything absolutely right, but the average consumer doesn't know yet?
Yeah, I guess so what we do a lot is education, because we believe in that. Education at consumer level to explain what we do, how we do it, and as we say here, the proof is in the pudding, so it's always tasting the liquid. And we always mention that, so the way, so it's tedious. I mean, it's one-to-one, it's a gigantic world, but I don't see other ways. I don't think a campaign or a gigantic, as you say, $1 billion or whatever, but buying billboards or doing an advertorial during the Super Bowl, for example, will necessarily help us. No, I mean, really, I don't think it will really help us. Yes, we need to raise the awareness, but qualitatively. Explain the time you're spending with us on the island. I mean, you noticed, I mean, you came, probably all of you already came once, or is it the first time? I don't know, but probably coming here and visiting the distillery, what we do, how we do it, you realize, okay, maybe Barbados Rum GI is a wording, okay, there's a concept, there's the strong link with the geography, with the water, with the yeast, the place of aging, not adding anything to the liquid, all those elements that we are describing in the GI, you are realizing they're tangible, there's something strong, and that defines who we are and what we do. And I think it's very difficult outside the boundaries of the island, or we can explain, of course, but it's very difficult also to materialize it. So I think it's an endless effort to communicate, educate. I believe, because I'm old school, I'm believing in the face-to-face, in the human relationship, if you want. I know digital is I mean, of course, I'm born in the 60s, but still, I'm, you know, I'm a modern man, so yeah, of course I understand that. But we need to leverage the island, and I'm saying that to my colleagues in the US, for example, inviting people to go. COVID has been tough for us, but inviting people, living it's all about the experience and seeing what we do, how we do it, and why it's benefiting at the end the consumer to have a genuine, authentic product. And again, we are fighting for this GI. It's a kind of Seale, no playing on the words. It's a kind of a warranty seed. Shit, you can have another name.
My own GI.
Yeah, it's a kind of, we are doing things that way. So it's why we are so passionate about it. And I don't know if we can do something specifically like, what do you call it, petition, more international.
We have one.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's publicized or.
Is it going to the right place? That's the thing.
We're trying.
Maybe it's also, and that you can help us also to make realize our government to realize, well, the people which are sensitive to what we do, the way we want to do it. And yes, that could be an idea effectively to amplify, because I know it exists, but I don't know many signatures there's on it. It's how we reach the next level, and that could be useful. I have personally no idea how to amplify it more, but that could be a solution also to help us having more weight vis-à-vis the politics and the government. That could be, and thank you for your question and support.
I would only add that, you started off by saying, like, what can we do? So, so I read in there, and I know I'll also speaking of Meredith, I read in this sort of, you guys have this sort of, you want action. And I think probably you have, so that's why you almost, David, then see a little frustration as you say you want, come on, Remy, spend some money. But I think you've got to remember from our end, we see this as a very long game.
Yeah.
And if I go back to Lewis, for example, and I said to him, go back 10 years and compare the progress to today, it's incredible. And it's one of these things where you're always kind of frustrated where you are, but you're actually moving pretty well. And if you look back 10, 15 years, you can see the massive progress that you've made.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate where we'll be in another 5 or 10 years.
And I'd like to make the analogy of getting a nice rum and aging it in Barbados and taking your time to age it. Not taking it to another country and rushing it and doing like Seale blending and add some sugar and that type of stuff and say it's rum. That's 23 years old because you're paying homage to Michael Jordan. That doesn't make sense. Absolutely.